Hello and welcome to Better Than Fine. This is a podcast about what it means to live life above zero, to accept that being okay is just not good enough and that we should want more out of life. And I gotta say, what a truly strange week that we are all having. It's been a weird couple of weeks, actually. I'm in New York City right now. The restaurants, bars, and gyms are all closed. People are going out a little bit in their neighborhood, but not really much at all. And I certainly have a lot of people in my life who I'm personally worried about, those that I care about, their loved ones. And it feels like we're all collectively bracing for what's about to happen, but also not sure what to do next in the slow motion tidal wave that is this moment. And I'm recording this assuming that your life has been somehow disrupted and that you're in the process of figuring out, well, what do I do next? And what do I need? And how do I move forward from here? So today's episode, I'm going to talk about a concept that's mostly pulled from neurolinguistic programming called state management, and then a little bit of habit change psychology on habit stacking and habit cascades. And I want to share what I know about those things from a coaching perspective through the lens of how you can use that information if you're in this bizarro alternate world that you're not really sure how to move through right now. Because I don't know about you, but I woke up this morning and, I had a hard time getting going. There was a sense being primarily an in-person personal trainer for more than half of my business and having all the gyms closed. Well, what's my day for then? What am I getting up for? And I am betting that at some point in the next few weeks, all of us are going to have a moment like the one I had this morning. And what I did was go back to some of what I know from game theory and some of what I know from when I used to work in software development. And I developed myself an iterative task generation system so that I could keep busy. Because while in the moment, I'm struggling to live my purpose, which is coaching people and being a conduit for their transformation, I'm also aware that that's my short-term, immediate purpose. I have this longer-term purpose that's helping people in more of a meta sense. And just because that tangible, immediate, day-to-day purpose is gone doesn't mean that my larger purpose is gone. So that's my thinking as I come into this podcast, which I think is one of the ways that I'm able to give you that greater purpose acquisition from myself. So it's totally selfish. What I'm trying to say is this effort is totally selfish. Indulge my selfishness. Clearly, I hope you know I'm joking. So let's kick it off. Let's get to it. We're going to talk about state management. Specifically state management dealing with COVID-19 and isolation and this moment. And in order to talk about state management, I guess I need to tell you what state management is. So when we talk about your state, it's like how you are, how you're doing. And if the word doesn't make sense in this context, think of like the State of the Union. It's a speech that tells us how is the country doing. Well, let's not consider that. Let's be thankful that we don't have one right now, right? So state management is managing how you are in any given moment. And if we look at theories based off of the writing of William James, which is the primary influence of neurolinguistic programming, and Dr. Beck's cognitive behavioral therapy systems, they all work in this idea that how you feel in any given moment is preceded by inciting events. Activating events is what Beck called them. And we also see this in Buddhist philosophy and yogic philosophy. The moment that we're in right now is always a result of things that came before it. And the choices that we're making right now are creating the conditions of what comes next. So your conditions, your choices dictate what you're creating. And that can mean what you're creating in yourself as well. So state management is the conscious choosing of these are the stimulus I'm going to provide my mind, my body, my being to create the state that I optimally want. And typically I use this with clients for how are they going to prep their morning, or how are they going to be most productive, or thinking about how they care for themselves. And with myself, I often use it, my own work. I'll give you a little peek into my own work. I have days where I typically go and coach clients for about 12 hours a day. That happens a few times a week. And then I have days where I'm doing creative work, I'm reading, I'm writing, I'm making podcast episodes. Those tend to be 3-ish days a week. And then I have 2 days that can flux either way. Typically one of them, I make a day off. And each of those categories of day, I need to feel differently in order to be at my best. So I will have coaching days. I have one set of habits and behaviors I do in the morning to prime myself to be a really good coach. And on creative days, I have a different set of patterns and behaviors to prime myself to be idea generative, or to be ready to learn or focus. And then on my do whatever days, I typically just do whatever because that's me. So you want to generate a stack of behaviors that you can use to prime yourself. And when we look at this through the COVID-19 lens, this moment that we're all in, we are all like on a break from normal reality, but we are eventually going to have to deal with the consequences of however we spend this time. And to inspire you, hopefully, I want to share a story I recently heard about Descartes. So Descartes is famous for creating what's called the Cartesian coordinates. And this is when you were back in high school math and you plotted a point on a graph, and you had okay, you go, A, B, C, D lines in, and 1, 2, 3, 4 lines up. And that was a grid. And then you plotted different points based off of the coordinates. Hopefully you remember that. Well, the Cartesian coordinate system was generated by Descartes, but he was unwell. And so he's lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, watching a fly dance on the ceiling. And he thinks to himself, oh, wouldn't it be great if I had a way to describe where on the ceiling that fly was and where it was moving to and from? If I had a grid, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4. If Descartes was not sickly, he never would have had the opportunity to examine those thoughts and develop something that has been the foundations for many kinds of maths. Also, there was a great article recently about how Newton and his laws of motion, all of the foundational ideas of his laws of motion, were generated while he was in quarantine in the plague. So there is a way for you to prime yourself to use this moment as an opportunity. Now, hopefully some of what I'm going to share with you is going to be helpful in you crafting that opportunity. So to prime you for this next section, pull out a journal or piece of paper or whatever notes document you want, and take a moment to consider, how do you want to feel as you're moving through this? Do you want to feel productive? Do you want to feel relaxed? Do you want to feel joyful at the opportunity to hang out with people who are important to you indefinitely? Do you want to feel like you're contributing? Do you want to be creative? And once you've dialed in what that means to you, then you're going to transition into, well, what are the things that I do that create those feelings? So for me, I want to feel productive and creative. I've made that commitment to myself that I want to use this time, this indefinite spans of time that I've been given, to create useful content, to generate systems that will help people, that when they're ready to come to these conversations, I have got tools on hand ready to rock. okay, so what do I need to do to be productive and creative? And how can I put structures in place? So I have, my set of behaviors I'm going to do upon waking every day. I have my meditation call I'm holding at noon. I have another call I'm holding in the evening to give me a framework that I can work in. So what framework, what habits, what behaviors can you create to generate the state that's going to make the feeling and the behavior that you want to create in this moment for yourself? And the nice thing about doing something like that is you can change. Is if it's not working, give yourself the opportunity to really examine what is and is not working and make adjustment. So the next layer on that is building the rituals for how you're going to create those states during isolation. And I say ritual because I don't mean like woo-woo ritual. I mean like a set of behaviors that are a pattern to create a waterfall cascade that leads you into your own success. So if you've ever heard the anecdotes about Michael Phelps at his peak, on the days that he would practice in his prep for the Olympics, he would always do everything in the same order for the same amount of time, the same set pattern of behaviors, because he was creating a groove in his mind, in his neuroplastic mind. This is the pathway to success. This is the pathway to success. And during one of his swims in the Olympics, he did all of his sets of behaviors. He dove into the pool and his goggles filled with water. Couldn't see a damn thing. But because of the hundreds, if not thousands of times that he went through the series of behaviors, he had his ritual. His body knew exactly what to do, even though he couldn't see, and he swam his way to yet another gold medal. Because your brain and your body work in this beautiful concert where the behaviors that you do together begin to wire together. If you've ever watched a little kid learn how to tie their shoes and then watch that little kid grow up, they get to the place where like slip the shoe on, tie the shoe, do, and it's done. And in the beginning, it was a lot of cognitive effort. So at first, if this feels unnatural, if it feels hard, if it feels like you're forcing yourself, that's okay. Build the ritual. So right now, I've got 3 sets of rituals posted on my wall, taped up right where I can see them so that they're there, so that when I start to get a little bit off my path, I have something to course correct. So the first is a morning priming habit stack. This is get out of bed and go. Even if where I'm going is my computer, my microphone, my keyboard. So to get up, I meditate. I'm doing a loving kindness meditation focused on gratitude for the people I have that are still alive, the people that I have that are still healthy, those that I am caring for to remain that way, the people who are isolating to protect others, the nurses and doctors in my life, and a whole host of other things. So start with loving kindness meditation. Then I hydrate, I caffeinate, and then I have a whole set of how I brain dump a task list to give myself purpose of what I'm going to accomplish that day. I bathe. I do mobility work to make sure I'm keeping my body healthy and resilient. And then I start my day. My second set of rituals is a reframe ritual. How am I going to unstick myself when things go sideways? When I start to feel a little down or a little stuck, what am I going to do to get back on the wagon, back on the horse? And that involves movement. It involves writing. I have a bunch of tracks for myself to get back to good. And then in the evening, I have my end of the day stack. How am I going to tell myself the day is done? You did what you could. We're going to do better again tomorrow. And that is right now a call at 7 p.m. with some of my friends. We're doing it over Zoom so that we can all be together. We're going to spend 45 minutes together, first meditating and then hanging out and talking. We have a couple primes for themes, but we're keeping it loose and goose. Then I'm going to watch a little TV, and I've made a promise to myself that as soon as I feel sleepy, I will go to bed so that I don't get out of my normal circadian rhythm. So if this sounds interesting to you and you need a little more guidance than what we could throw into a quick podcast, I'm going to encourage you to go to darlene.coach, which is my website. And right there on the homepage, there is a free downloadable ebook called You, Care and Maintenance, a guide to making your own owner's manual. And it's basically state management in all different domains of life. And while I wrote it years ago, so it's not applied to COVID-19, I want to make it available to you for free for now, so that it gives you a framework to approach this work if it feels useful to you. So that's darlene.coach. Scroll down just a little bit, and it's right there. You pop your email address in, and I'll send you a copy of You, Care and Maintenance, a guide to making your own owner's manual. Like I said, it's primarily on state management and rituals. And of course, feel free to reach out. I'm here to help. My purpose is helping people. And we're only going to get through this together. I want to end this with a little PSA that I used in my meditation today. And it's this idea that each of us has unique experiences, a unique set of skills, and a unique set of what we're interested in. And that Venn diagram creates you. You are the only version of this that's ever going to exist, which means that from that place, that overlap of experience, skill, and interest, you can contribute to the world in a way that literally no one else can. So how can you use this moment to form that contribution? What is it that you feel compelled to do? And when the little voice in the back of your head is whispering, "What's the point? Just lay on the couch." I want you to pull this back up. I want you to come back to this, because that voice is not your trueness. I don't even know if that's not even a word. That voice is lies, and you do not have to believe everything that your mind tells you. And this moment, it is so likely that we are going to experience all the little lies that our minds could give us. Choose to get back up. Choose to keep going. Choose to do the work. I believe in you. I believe in you so much that I have no idea who you are listening to this right now, but I'm making this for you because I believe in all of us. We can get through this together. And when we do, we get to build a different world that's just a little bit better. Let's get the lessons out of this. This system is one way that you can find some lessons and come out of this sharper and more acute and more effective instead of weaker. Let's use this time. I'm Darlene Marshall, and this is Better Than Fine. And if you have any ideas for podcasts, things you want to learn about, let me know. Darlene at darlene.coach. You can find me on Instagram at darlene.coach. I am honored to the opportunity to create this for you. Thank you for listening.